Hello and welcome to Voices of BlueScope, the podcast where we go behind the scenes at BlueScope to meet the people who create strength every day. I'm your host, Martin Feld. Thank you for joining us. This time on the show, we're featuring an interview by BlueScope Company Historian Craig Nealon with Walter Suber OAM. Walter kindly sat down with Craig at the Inside Industry Visitor Centre to discuss his career with BlueScope and beyond, which has spanned metallurgy, research, and product and business development. Furthermore, he covered some of the key achievements for which he was recognised with the Medal of the Order of Australia, including contributions to Australian manufacturing and associated collaboration with government and educational institutions, along with his long-term support of the Slovenian community in Australia. Let's hear their conversation now.
Walter, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You must be super proud of getting this award.
Absolutely.
I've seen some photos, and we'll get to the award in a minute, but tell me a bit about your career. Like, when did you start and what made you come to the steel industry and manufacturing in general in the first place?
It basically started with a love of, science. So I used to enjoy doing science when I was in high school and whatever, and we were looking at either something in chemistry, and then metallurgy popped up as well as an option. And because my dad used to work in the steelworks many, many years ago, I thought that was a pretty good connection, and I decided to go down that path. Went for an interview, and I started in 1978 as a baby trainee metallurgist, straight out of school.
I'll just ask you about your dad. Did you know much about what your dad did?
Yeah, Dad actually worked at my first department, believe it or not. It was like it was meant to happen. He actually worked at number 2 open hearth. He was actually working on the checkers and on the floor, so on the front side of the business, as opposed to where the tapping of the steel happened at the back end of the furnace.
So that was a pretty brutal sort of place in its time. I mean, hot and dirty and quite confronting, but also I know that people really enjoyed working there, right? They had a real connection with it.
Absolutely. Honestly, that was one of the best departments I've ever had. The guys were fantastic. Everybody knew their job. They helped one another. There was over 900 people then. When I started, there was 22,000 people down here at Port Kembla. So it was a great number. There was people basically buzzing everywhere. And the guys on the shop floor were tremendous. I came on as a trainee, making sure that we put the right grades and whatever on the worksheets for the guys, and then we followed that all day and made sure that all the alloys went in the rear end of the furnace, and made sure that it got tapped correctly and all that sort of stuff. So that was one of the elements, and then basically working out of the production office most of the day. So it was pretty busy and pretty intense. You're right about being hot, and you're certainly right about being a little bit daunting to start off with, because everything was on a grand scale.
Be fair to say then, somehow your career took a pretty radical turn, because I can remember working with you in research in a completely different part of the business. Yeah. How did that come about, and how did you find your way into that?
Well, one of the great things about BlueScope, or BHP back then at that stage, was that we had opportunity of going from one department to the next to actually find where you want to land at the end of your career, or towards where you end your traineeship. So I did steel making to start off with. I did quality control over at Flat Products, and I finished up at customer services at Central Laboratory. And that was an introduction of commercial matters, discussion, any issues, concerns, development, all that sort of stuff in one bag. So that excited me a great deal. And then when I came to the end of that period, I actually had an opportunity of looking at jumping the fence and going to John Lysart's at that stage, and I went and started working at research there, and I stayed, I think, 3.5 years at research before coming up to Chullora, which is the BlueScope state office.
And you never looked back once you joined Lysart's, right?
Well, look, Lysart's, I loved Lysart's. It had a great new uniform. We looked sensational back then. So yeah, it was great. It was great. I loved research and technology. The guys there were tremendous. We had great conversations. Great group of people that, were open to conversation and discussion throughout the time that I was there. So it was a very good opportunity for me at that stage.
Okay, but then you moved to Chullora But you left the business, am I right in saying, and went to work for someone else? Came back?
Yeah, well, look, what happened was that Chalora, I went to Chalora in 85 and stayed there, became the coordinator looking after distribution. And then the business had a bit of a change in philosophy. We looked at getting McKinsey's in to come and look at the business to see what rationalisation we could do to improve our costs. And I put my hand up to take an offer and moved on at that stage. So that was 94. I went and joined a company called Sheet Metal Supplies, which is a privately owned company by the McNee family. That was a really terrific period. I was basically their technical manager for that period. And then 12 months later, a wonderful man by the name of Bob Wilton, who looked after George Ward, which was a part of Tube Makers, asked me if I wanted to become a BDM for them, Business Development Manager, which was a fantastic opportunity for me again, because I really enjoyed talking to people, working with people, and more importantly, developing products. Let's face it, you know, we had a lot of opportunity back then, in particular with developing new products. There was a lot of manufacturing going on and a lot of opportunities.
This is an interesting career because basically you've started off as a steel maker, gone into research, and then got right at the pointy end of where these steel products end up and how they're used, right at the sort of customer-facing side of the business.
I guess that's where I actually started working with individual businesses and companies. And I think if anybody wants to go down that career path, I can certainly say that I enjoyed that. You're talking to people that are owners of businesses, that are general managers, that are, you know, the guys on the shop floor that have got problems and you need to solve them, or we had a product that we need to develop. And back then, again, the relationship I still had with research down at Port Kembla was fantastic in the sense that, you know, we had the product application lab down there. We had some tremendous people, very knowledgeable, very creative as well, that actually had that ability to help me develop something with a customer. That was probably one of the periods where you actually feel like you've really contributed to the marketplace. We also, back then, also did a lot of work with trying to make sure that the sheet metalwork industry was looked after correctly, not only within a supply parameter, but more importantly, also government understanding that there are requirements. TAFE colleges knowing that there's new technology coming in with new lasers, new turret presses, all this stuff that was coming in. We didn't want the guys to learn just tin snips and bending and folding on pan brakes. We went all the way to make sure with people like Colin Johnson of FJP Manufacturing and people like him to make sure that government, that TAFE understood that these are the new requirements, that industry moving forward and everybody else in education and technology had to come with us.
Yeah, interesting. It's so varied compared to someone that maybe has spent their entire career at the steelworks and been a good iron and steel maker, that you've sort of experienced the whole
shebang,
the whole range of it in a way.
And I think that's the beauty of back then, and I hope it's still the same now, where if somebody wants to move and progress and have the opportunity of doing something different, this is a fantastic, I guess, vehicle to take it and go with it.
Yeah, and a fantastic industry to do it in, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, we're still very lucky. There's still Australian manufacturing here. People understand that having an Australian manufacturer like BlueScope is paramount, especially when we had just COVID coming through. There'd be a lot of industry not working if we weren't able to supply at that point in time. So if you look at what we did through that period, okay, we couldn't supply 1,000 tonnes to you if you wanted 1,000 tonnes, but we gave you 900, so that was pretty good in the sense that we actually supported the industry, supported everybody going through that difficult stage. People recognise that overseas supply isn't what it's meant to be. There's issues there, again, with transportation, lead times and all that sort of stuff. And what we made was here. We had a lead time we stuck with. We actually had facilities of cutting and processing that material here. And we had the technical support, because a lot of people, when you buy from overseas, you get duck egg, nothing.
Tell me about your community here in the Illawarra, and I guess elsewhere, the Slovenian community. Been recognised in your award for that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how that's come about and what you've been involved with.
Look, I've been involved with them since, I guess, a child. We started going with church and then going to our clubs and doing community cultural events and stuff like that. Every other ethnic group that you have around, children would have gone through the same process. I got involved a little bit more heavily involved with the community by trying to get grants for various things. I actually got given a role by the Slovenian government to actually represent the Slovenians in Australia, or in particular New South Wales. So there's three of us, or there was three of us, there's only two now, one in Victoria and one in New South Wales. So we're just trying to make sure that the awareness is, if there's any issues in relation to cultural things, the language, to maintain language. What we want to do is make sure that our heritage is maintained. We obviously have become good Australians. We're very proud of that. But I think it's also good to remember where you come from. So, I think our heritage is who we are, and I think we've got to maintain that.
Yeah, wonderful. Now tell me about getting your award and receiving your award and what that meant to you. Well, let me start by saying you've got a little pin on your jacket, I noticed, and you sort of are required to wear that in a way, so you are wearing it formally, and what does that mean?
Well, actually, this is a pin that they give you, part of the Order of Australia medal process. It is something that they would like you to wear, and I guess this is bringing awareness of what we do and what we've done in the past. So it's something that you use if I go out and meet with people, then obviously I'll show the pin. If I go to more formal events, there's also some more formal sort of attire that you can use as well. So I think it's a lovely thing. I mean, I'm very proud of it. I really like to thank everybody that's been involved in this, because this is not just me doing something. It's a lot of people that have actually supported this. There's a lot of people that have actually been either a part of this. I've been either a chairman of something, or I've been actually a committee member of something. There's been a lot of nights, so these are not during the day opportunities, these are all in the evening. Like when I was part of the Sheet Metalwork Industry Association and part of NASH and whatever, we did lots of stuff that was outside the normal working hours as well.
Not just your job. Yeah.
It wasn't just a job, it was actually something that I wanted to do as well.
Yeah.
And that's I guess that's also part of the passion behind it all. Overall, I've been very grateful of people that have actually, again, endorsed that this is actually something that we've done together, because this is something that I've done not only for me personally, it's something that I've done for my community, the Slovenian community, and also for the Australian manufacturing, because I'm very passionate about Australian-made products and very passionate about having an industry long into the future.
Yeah, wonderful. So getting an Order of Australia medal, you actually have an actual medal, don't you? Do you want to show it to us?
Can I show you my medal? Absolutely. Yeah, this is something that looks pretty cool, actually.
And you received that from the New South Wales Governor?
New South Wales Governor, absolutely. So, she was gracious and wonderful at the same time. We had a lovely chat there for a couple of moments, took a couple of photos, and there was 31 recipients on that day. So again, some wonderful people that did medical research and all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. So they've saved lives, but at least we delivered steel and stuff like that from our side. So
congratulations once again.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
Spending a little bit of time chatting to us there.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so
much.
Good on you. Thank you.
We thank Walter for sharing his story on the podcast. To learn more about Walter and any of the topics you just heard, please visit the links and show notes in your browser or podcast app. For example, you'll find a brief video version of this interview on TV BlueScope, which includes photos of Walter's award ceremony and some supporting industrial footage. Thank you for listening to this episode of Voices of BlueScope. It's been a pleasure to have you. Stay tuned for more.